One thing Aaron didn't talk about was he's actually a former law enforcement. What bring you the mindset being a law enforcement later on getting into business world?
Bad guys or the bad guy people is like, even if you talk to them like a human being and you respect them, usually you can just talk them into the handcuffs. It's not like something where you have to get into these foot chases, but it's you when you start learning, like when you're young and eager and you're like, oh yeah, do all this stuff, foot chases, car chases. But as you get older and more seasoned and you learn to talk to people, I mean, you can, even if, they did something wrong, they understand that, they did wrong, they got caught and they have to go to jail for it. But to get them to just cooperate and not have to get into those kind of situations is what something that I learned really quick.
Hi everybody, thanks for coming back to Things Created podcast. This is your host Benjamin Huang. I have been doing many episodes in the past year, and those episodes we have one goal to accomplish is to bring people who are actively in investment journey and share what they have learned and their mindset and the challenges that they're facing, so you can learn from other people's mistakes instead of making your own. Today I have a great friend of mine, Aaron's, come to the studios. Aaron's, how are you doing?
I'm doing excellent. How are you?
Good. Thanks for coming to our podcast. What should people know about you, and basically give people a high level background introduction about yourself?
Yeah, so getting into real estate has always been like something, my family, my mom has some real estate rental properties. My grandma and grandpa had real estate. My aunts had real estate. And just growing up, I remember my grandpa having me go across the street and collect rent. And I was always fascinated by people giving me money and then me running over and like turning it into him and going, why is he getting money? Why, like, what is going on here? Like growing up seeing that. And I was like, I got to do this. Like, he's getting paid and for people to stay in these houses. So I've always been interested in real estate and, getting into it. How we got into it is I had my own house and met my current wife, and she had a house. We ended up getting married. So I learned the ins and outs of learning how to do long-term rentals. And I was like, man, this, they didn't really cash flow. And then after we got into Pace Morby and learned that you can refi, pull that money out, use that as investing and raise the rent, and then leverage the things that you have. So that's just how it started out. We started out with lending and using some of our properties to get that going. So that was our journey for this point.
Awesome. And one thing Aaron didn't talk about was he's actually a former law enforcement. I've been very curious, what bring you the mindset being a law enforcement later on getting into business world?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people understand. I mean, we're human too. It's not like robot that you have to be like this, military style police officer where, we have different personalities. Like funny story about talking with like bad guys or the bad guy people is like, even if you talk to them like a human being and you respect them, usually you can just talk them into the handcuffs. It's not like something where you have to get into these foot chases, but it's you when you start learning, like when you're young and eager and you're like, oh yeah, do all this stuff, foot chases, car chases. But as you get older and more seasoned and you learn to talk to people, I mean, you can, even if, they did something wrong, they understand that, they did wrong, they got caught and they have to go to jail for it. But to get them to just cooperate and not have to get into those kind of situations is what something that I learned really quick.
This is an
Yeah,
awesome perspective.
it just transitions into like real estate, like doing deals and just listening to people, listening to their problems and trying to solve it, right? And that's ultimately like what law enforcement is. You go, someone has a problem, two people are trying to, and you're the intermediate person that knows law and trying to solve it in a lawful manner.
This is awesome. I think this is a tremendous perspective. Being a law enforcement, you are dealing with people, and a lot of people's you have to come up with a perspective to manage the relationship and actually manage that situation. This is actually very similar in real estate or even in business world, right? Like every owner that you're, you know, dealing with, any seller that you're dealing with has unique situations, and you kind of need to find a way to find a balance and figure out a solutions. So this is awesome. What would you say to be the biggest challenge when you make the shift? Like I assume before you retire, you didn't have much exposure in the business world.
No experience in Like I said, just
Wow.
the real estate, like just learning the ins and outs of leases and like bad tenants and how to do background checks. And you would think that someone in law enforcement would be like, okay, I should do a really good, thorough background check. But, it's like, oh, yeah, I'll run you through this system and yeah, you're good. You're going to pay money. Nope.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so just, yeah, it's just a really, really good learning experience. But yeah.
What would you say to be the biggest challenge that you have faced so far since you get into business world?
So many, like not having any experience. I think one of the downfalls of me being in law enforcement is you're always dealing with people lying to you. So when you're starting to try and build relationships, you think that you're being taken advantage of when someone's actually trying to bring you a deal. So it's like a double-edged sword. It's like, oh, why are you lying to me? This sounds too good. How are you going to take advantage of me? And it's like, so you may be pushing people away, which I think I've done. Is like instead of trusting a relationship and going on to that, like working out that deal in not so much like a partnership where you have to be, but like JVing, like something's lesser and just like getting deals done. And if it doesn't work out, at least you can go your own ways without being in a partnership.
Yeah.
So just, I think that's been the toughest thing for me is the networking side and building those relationships to figure out how I can help others in business instead of just me looking at like, hey, deals for me, deals for me, deals for me.
So good, so good. So, guys, if you're listening to this episode, you need to be mindful. It's not about the deal; it's about the people. It's people, people, people. If you have a great relationship with people, you will have access to deals. It's really not about you have some sort of secret access to deals that other people don't. It's really about who do you know and who know you, and why they should send deals to you. So no matter you're in real estate or you're in businesses, that is one key takeaway. And if you are basically new to the industry, focus on people you're working with because a lot of deal may come from the source that you have never ever imagined. Let's talk about your lending deals. Like, is that a single family or like what was the deal look like?
Yeah, it was a single
Where did
family
it came from?
in Kansas. So it was a lend for, I believe it was like 4 months at a 15% return.
Okay, so someone is using a deal in Kansas and they're borrowing money from you
Yeah. So
and they're offering 15% return.
yeah, 15%. So it was the purchase and the rehab costs. So big red flag. Didn't the contractor came in with no money? I fronted everything. He didn't come with a penny. So big red flag, right? Like you should have done draws, you should have done X, Y, and Z. You should have like not paid him that whole thing. He kept a lot of that money. Like after looking at the what he did to the house is very basic. So that purchase price of 35 and he needed 35 for rehab, I guarantee 35 was not
Yeah,
used for rehab on that. So just all those things that I look back and go, okay, I learned from it, but luckily we'll get our money back on it on the foreclosure. But yeah,
yeah,
there's just a lot of things, a lot of little details that you can make or break a deal and can really put you behind.
got it. So it's basically a deal that a fix and flipper trying to flip the house, but they don't have the money to fix the house
Or purchase.
and
Yeah,
or purchase. And they likely are trying to borrow money at such a high 15% interest rate, likely because they cannot get a better rate elsewhere, right?
exactly.
So that like what Aaron said, that is the first red flags, right? When you notice that, hey, like how come you're not getting a cheaper money for your fix and flip? Does that cost make sense, right? And second, you mentioned about not to basically give all the money, once at once, right?
Exactly.
Um, and I assume that is basically you decide to lend and you basically just put all the money into escrow and that escrow money just go to him and you then just hope and pray that he properly used the money and get the job
Or
done.
that I comped it and underwrote it correctly so that when he did do all the work, that it praises for more than what he said, which was not the case.
So how much did you lend?
It was a 70,000 lend with a about
Okay.
10 or 12K return in 4 months.
Okay. In four
Yeah.
months. Okay. And when did you realize there is something wrong with it?
So 4 months came around. He actually I contacted him. I was like, hey, what's going on? This is coming due. Where are we at? He's like, actually, I'm falling behind. We ran into a permitting uh, with a gas line that is not up to date code. That wasn't actually what he said was calculated into his costs. So he ended up fronting me the first month late fee to continue on the into before filing for foreclosure. He had the one month extension on the contract. So he fronted that, and then but what happened after that is ghost. So I had a connector in this deal, and I was trying to contact the connector. We jumped on a couple Zooms. Promises. He's wholesaling deals. He's trying to get some things under contract. He's going to catch me up. 3 months later, finally was like, enough is enough. Ended up getting a lawyer and doing a default notice. So after he got the default notice, we actually jumped back on a Zoom and we were going to try and work out something creative where there was another contractor willing to take over that property, pay me out, and then move on. They're a bigger company. So I was like, okay, if they're willing to do that, let's do it. So long story short, they ended up falling through. They had some other issues of their own, so now it came back to him, and it's like he's like, "Well, I'm going to try and sell it now." I called my own realtor. I called my own contractor to meet him. They walked the property, basically said that this house can only sell for 50K, and we can get an investor to buy it because it wasn't built correctly. Like it only had like a
Wow.
living room, and then there was like a half bedroom, and then the kitchen was built in with the bathroom. So he didn't even build it correctly where you could rent it or sell it correctly.
My
So
God.
like an investor probably you can probably get it to an investor for 35 if you want to take it off your hands. I was like, no way, I'm going to foreclose. So I ended up going back to my lawyer, had a conversation, laughed, said, yeah, I knew you were going to be back. Let's foreclose on it. So
Mm.
luckily, the good part of the story is he in his LLC he had a portfolio of 25 other properties. So the lawyer said, "Well, we'll be able to get your money back. We'll foreclose on all the properties. We'll take our lawyer fees out of those properties, and you won't have to really pay any lawyer fees. So just the retention." So it ended up working out.
Assuming there's equity, right?
I'm going to get all my late fees for the past year, interest on that, and I'll get my money back. So it worked out, but it could have been really bad.
Yeah. And that's likely because of that person's or the borrowers is not savvy enough that put all the property inside one LLC.
Exactly.
Have you guys checked the equity of all the other property and see if there's equity existed?
The lawyer's gonna pull title and get all the properties and do all the work. So they said that they have
Mm.
properties that they said that there's enough equity to get the lawyer paid plus me with all my stuff. So
Wow. Okay. This sounds like a horror movie. So, guys, if you are listening to our conversations, real estate lending, you can actually make a ton of money. However, there are things that you need to learn about so you're savvy enough not to make the same mistake. So, Aaron, looking back, if you were to restart, would you still do the deals? And what were the things that you have learned?
I would because the knowledge that you get because when you start becoming someone that's wanting to purchase and understanding the capital side of raising and how you can secure that borrower, like bringing up these stories like, hey, I was a lender also. I went through this foreclosure. I had to go this. This is how I'm going to secure you. Like I don't want the full amount. I want you to send me money as I send you pictures as I fix the house. I want that way you know that I'm doing the work. I want you to do this. I want you to be in first position to own the house. So if whatever work I've done, you get to keep and you get to sell it, and I don't make any money. So just walking them through the process and letting them know how they can be secured because that wasn't really highlighted to me by my connector of like how, or even collateral, like, hey, what if the market goes down or like you don't have the experience? What collateral do you have on top of this? So just having those conversations or money in the bank, like, hey, I do have my own cash, but I'm trying to do more deals and I'm holding this cash. So if something comes up bigger that I run into, I'm not going to come and ask for more money from you. I'm going to fix
Yeah.
those bigger problems myself. So just things like that.
So sounds like you need to make sure that they're more liquid than what it was, and you're likely also going to do a background check on this person and see if that person have ever performed, right?
Yes.
Right. So that's the other, and of course, basically give the money on faces, right, instead of the whole chunk,
Yeah,
right?
draws. Definitely draws. Like anyone that's not doing draws, it can like I don't know. It's so it's not put out there as much, and I know that it's more of a headache for the borrower where they have to keep on asking for the money, ask for the money. But you're the one. It's your money. It's not their money. If they want the deal, then you have the power. And I didn't
You
realize
make
that
the rule.
later on. Yeah, you have the power of the lending side. If you want my money, then okay, you're gonna have to abide by my rules. You're gonna have to send me the pictures. And if you don't have that in the contract, they don't have to do it. So
Yeah.
just just having someone know the paperwork, know what you need, what has to be done for the deal to be done correctly.
Yeah. And the other thing you talk about was you basically learn about the real estate lending since you joined Pace Morby's community. What made you decided to join the community and start doing lending first instead of, because previously you were buying, you know, single family as a rental property, right? Like, what's stopping you from keep on buying instead do lending?
So the lending side, we thought, okay, well, I didn't really know like how to like with the sub two. It's like okay, it's a big investment, and we knew we had some equity that we could like just kind of use that equity to start making money for purchases. So we didn't really understand like all the real estate side. It's like being a realtor, but the creative side, the how to make deals, how to find these deals, and write up these deals to acquire more homes. So we said, well, if we can't purchase them or do it like that, how about we start out with lending, get you on your feet, making some kind of money, and then we have money to invest into purchasing more homes. And then that's when we got into the sub two. It's like, oh, well, you don't need money coming in. I was like, okay, let's do it. Because once, and that's how we ended up getting into sub two, is all our money was out on lens, and I was like, okay, what do I do for 6 months? And then once you join Gator, you start getting the all the Pace Morby sub two, all the other
Yeah.
stuff on Facebook and deals and into that world. So as we said, okay, let's get into sub two. Let's see if we can do some of these creative deals and start acquiring some more. But what we learned for us is that's it. Real estate is a long game. You can't just think that you're going to come into real estate and go, I'm going to retire. Like, luckily, when I retired, I have a retirement like right away. I didn't have to worry about that. So we have some income. But to just say I'm going to quit and go all in real estate with no active income, it's really hard because the relationships you have to build, the deals that you have to find, the business side that you have to build behind it with your LLCs, your trust to protect yourself, and learning all the paperwork, getting all that stuff in place. It may take you a while. So
Yeah.
there are the people that I've heard of stories that are just like go getters and just get it done and start doing deals. But for me in my instance, it's just like okay, I have to feel secure. I have to feel like I know what I'm doing and know what I'm saying to be competent in it. Just like in law enforcement, like you have to learn the laws. You have to know when you can use those things into the situation that you're coming into. And as you do more of them, you go, okay, I can pivot, or I can use this, or I can leverage that, and get more deals done creatively. But yeah,
Awesome. When you are saying that you wanted to kind of take your time to really learn about the business, I think that is a mentality maybe after you got burned, from a deals, right? So I think this is a important takeaway for everybody. And this is also what I talk about this before we even get started with the with this podcast. You want to learn from other people's mistake, because when you really listen to how people lose money, you know how to protect yourself. And if you don't just pay attention and get into FOMO and be like, okay, let me get into a great deal. What, 15%? Let me get into the deals, right?
yep,
That's most people. That's how most people get burned, right? Aaron, thank you for sharing this amazing deals and experience. Um, you talk about you also are working on co-living and RV park. Tell us more.
Yeah. So with co-living, my idea or my Mount Everest is to really here in New Mexico, Albuquerque, help with the nonprofits, get into the master leases, and like be like the transitional person to get people, and it doesn't have to be with nonprofits, but just the general population that are about to go homeless into lower income housing, rent by the room before they can get into an apartment or into something more secure, and just being something more lucrative and available quicker than building these big buildings that they're trying to do it for affordable housing that are going to take 5-10 years. So if I can be creative and take some of these houses that are on the market and work with people and nonprofits to get people that are coming to them like, hey, I'm about to lose my house, or I'm, hey, get them into a room, get them on their feet, keep them in their job where they're not going homeless or trying to lose their job, and all the situations like that. So just trying to work with city councilors, trying to work with politicians, building like getting a hold of higher end realtors and insurance companies to figure out how we can solve that here locally. So yeah, it's just been really networking and working on solutions for that, for the co-living for a co-living model.
This is awesome. And guys, Aaron just talked about um, a very important takeaway. He's focusing on building relationship with the people that require for him to, pursue this business journey, right? Like he talked about a bunch of people here, and I actually think that's a very very smart move. And for people who are trying to develop something and really take on a certain direction, develop into a different business journey, that is really the first step you should be doing. Start knowing who is doing what and get to know them. Every single person that you have met, every single relationship that you have built are going to become your asset, right? And later on, you may say, "Hey, there are people, there are resources that I do not have, and I for some reason I cannot acquire. Why don't I just tap into the community and see what people are doing, and see if I can bring them what they don't have, and eventually, you got a very good partnership that basically one side cover the other."
Yeah,
So
and that's huge because you never know what someone's going to have or offer if you don't have that conversation with someone. Like you may look at someone and go, man, they're doing so well, or they may not be, you don't know their finances. You don't know their situation. You don't know what connections they have. They may be, you know, just median income, but have a family of wealth, like people that are investors. And they said, no, I didn't really want to get into that, but they have the capital. Like there's just so many crazy stories that I'm learning, and then meeting like as like one of the partners that I'm doing a fix and flip with says, hey, yeah, I have, he does a lot of contracting work doing high end video audio for $1 million homes, and he's networked with people, and they're like, yeah, if you need like $1 million, we're looking to invest in Albuquerque, we'd love to help you out on something that you're doing. But like those kind of conversations, like it's like, man, just with who he knows and what they know, you never know what someone has. So if you just put out there, like the biggest thing is if you just have conversations, not even looking for the capital, but if you just say what you're doing, you attract people to what you're doing, and they'll bring the money instead of asking for the money. And
and
that's huge.
yes, and a lot of time it could be different than money. It could be deals, it could be relationship, it could be all kind of resources that you potentially need, right? Because doing a business is really not just money. So
Exactly.
people. Um, yeah. Aaron, um, you are you are also looking into RV park.
Yes.
What about RV park that interests you?
So that's been something pretty new. We've always like we go camping. We've done the RVing. We have a little bumper pull trailer, and it's like, man, we can make money off doing the things that we like to do. Why not? So, just been same thing. Just been talking to people, picking their brains, making relationships, talking and seeing what they need. Not as going in and asking them like, how much can I buy this place for? But like, hey, what do you need? What's going on? What problems are you running into? What why aren't you filling? What's going on? Like where you're advertising, like just kind of getting an idea of what they need, and then saying, oh, if you ever hear about anyone, if you're linked into the community, do you know anyone that might be close to retiring? Can you keep my ears open? Like not offering anything, right? But just putting a little seed in there and build that relationship. Come by every once in a while and ask them if they need anything, and tell them what you can offer, like contractors or X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. But going in there and offering something rather than trying to take. And, she, like one of the managers I met, she actually sent me some information about to another guy. She's like, hey, you need to talk to this guy. He's built from the ground up. He has contacts. He has permitting. He has the architects to build RVs. So he's done it. And it was a great connect. I went and met him the next day and we had a good conversation. And yeah, that might be a different route, but so just keeping that open. You never know what that person is going to offer you and the network that they're going to give you.
Awesome. Aaron, how can people find you?
You can follow me on Facebook or Instagram, Aaron.Hoisington. Search me, follow me. I'm going to be starting a podcast also here pretty soon this week, and start getting people on there also. So if they want to follow my podcasts, it'll be coming up here pretty soon. But yeah, I'll have it on my Instagram link.
Fantastic, Aaron. Thanks again for your time showing up in our podcast. I appreciate you.
No problem. Thanks.
Guys, I'll see you guys in the next episode.